Fireworks in Parliament there with the leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha leading amongst the most acerbic attacks on the government, calling it apolitical and one that in fact lacks statecraft. We spoke to Arun Jaitley earlier. He's our newsmaker tonight. Mr. Jaitley, thanks very much for your time on the Buck Stops here. Now, the essence of your intervention in Parliament responding to the Prime Minister's speech on the Anna Hazare arrest seemed to be that this was a government that had approached the problem through a legalistic framework instead of a political one. You're a senior lawyer as well, not just a politician. How do you counter the Congress argument and the government's argument that there can be no absolute right to protest, especially when someone's declaring a fast unto death?
Well, there is a right of protest, there is a right to dissent. Any condition that the government imposes can only be reasonable. It can be reasonable for the government to say that don't indulge in violence, don't have a threat to public order, don't disrupt the traffic. But a condition can't be whether shamianas will be put or not, as to what should be the duration of your protest, as to what should be the size of a protest. These people are protesting against the government, so government cannot have the right to decide whether it must be a large protest or a very small protest. Has this ever happened ever earlier? Never to my memory, not even from the records of the British government in India, that the government of the day says your demonstration or your dharna or your sit-in, the number of people are going to be regulated. Has Delhi shrunk so much that it's become such a small city that you can't find a large ground where Anna Hazare and his supporters can sit? They can sit at the Red Fort, they can sit at the parade ground, they can sit at the Ramlila Maidan. There are hundreds of places they could sit at. But to say that, after making them run for 10 days or 20 days, to say that you will only sit for 3 days at a place which is an ornamental park, you will only park 50 cars, you won't go beyond 3 days. The government, by imposing such unreasonable conditions, was cutting the right of protest, declaring it almost redundant and odious.
But how do you counter the criticism that's coming from certain quarters that much as the government has botched up in its handling of the Anna Hazare issue and you know, really by sending him to Tihar was perhaps the biggest blunder that the government made, how do you counter the criticism that there is a difference between the right to protest and blackmail, and that when Anna Hazare says he will not come out of jail till the government has accepted every single condition of his, that is somehow a form of blackmail? That's what is being suggested by his critics.
Well, I don't think that's the correct question that you have posed. The choice is not between a right of protest and a blackmail. After all, going on a fast, or a fast even unto death, nobody really fasts till death. After a couple of days, the person concerned is removed to hospital, they forcibly feed him, they have doctors checking on him every day. The issue is not blackmail. Was Gandhiji indulging in blackmail of the British? This is for the first time during this UPA 2 that this phrase blackmail to describe a protest is being used. We may disagree with somebody's position, but we can't deny him a right to protest. What have you done? You can say that in case there is any danger to your life, we will remove you. That may be a reasonable condition. But to say that you will not fast beyond 3 days, you will not fast with a large group of people. Now, they were trying to be too clever by halves with him. I think they've fallen into a trap of their own. They sent him to jail where nothing was called for. His has been a peaceful movement. Now that he's in jail, they are begging of him to come out and looking like, I don't want to use a harsh word, cutting a sorry picture.
Well, sorry picture at the moment is an understatement for the government that may have to accede to every demand of Anna Hazare. It's clearly been a botched up handling. But Mr. Jaitley, do you believe that if to begin with the UPA had brought in opposition members onto that drafting panel on the Lokpal bill, they would not be in the isolated position that they are in today?
Well, I think the Lokpal bill doesn't only concern UPA 2. It concerns the entire country. And therefore, at the drafting stage, people being consulted, there is absolutely no difficulty. You should have consulted people at length. After all, you had a drafting committee where you had a series of meetings with them. You led them up the garden path, and halfway through you deserted them. So they are feeling offended. They've taken a right to protest. I don't think anybody can seriously contend that the ultimate sovereignty lies with Indian Parliament. But Indian Parliament, people can petition to Parliament, people can protest before Parliament, people can come and tell the MPs what to legislate, what not to legislate. I don't understand when the National Advisory Council, which is another form of civil society, is drafting laws after laws, If Anna says, please listen to me, and if you don't listen to me, give me a right to protest, to give my viewpoint, you should have a serious objection to this.
NDTV's cricket app, Android and iPhone. Fastest scorecard, special analysis, and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.